as a billionaire, and he accumulated enormous amounts of wealth, and he exerted enormous influence all over the world. He's castigated on the right for good reasons.
We got a phone call. Let's go ahead and take that. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Well, that's good, man. It's kind of an exciting morning. I'm sure you've been doing a little reading.
A couple times last night, but kind of out of the loop, actually.
Well, I would imagine most everybody is, with the exception of a few people. In fact, I got Dean in the office here with me, but Dean and I have been talking about that in the morning, about all these bloggers that are out there telling us exactly what's happening. Now, how do they know exactly what's happening?
I don't think anybody does. I think probably the Trump administration and our Secretary of War probably have a better handle on what's happening than probably anyone else in the world.
But we do know a few things, Jim. The price of oil has gone down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people are taking, in the markets are taking a look and saying, "Oh, okay, well, if this oil is going to move through the Strait of Hormuz, then we might have oil on the market." So that might change the prices a little bit. But I cautionary tale here. I mean, we still are way up from the $58 to $65 range that we were at before the war. So we got a lot more to go down. We're at about 90 last I saw. But nonetheless, I mean, if this thing were to hold, and FYI, I wouldn't put money on it, but if it were to hold, then that relieves the oil markets tremendously.
Yeah. And
we'll see what happens. The reality is, first of all, I don't even know in reality who he is negotiating with. Yeah. I don't think anyone knows who he's negotiating with.
Exactly.
That's a big issue.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? I mean, what is that going to mean for this? And the other thing is this, they were lobbing missiles into Israel again last night. And then I just heard earlier that there apparently was an oil pipeline that was hit by missiles this morning, our time. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on. And so we'll see. If those things are not, if they can't be pawned off as rogue actions, which I'm not going to initially say that they are rogue actions. They could be very purposeful. But if they're not rogue, if they are rogue actions, then this thing may hold for a couple weeks, try to work this out, and give the Iranian people a chance to determine for themselves. But listen, it is a gray zone right now. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows precisely what's going on.
No, I don't think so. But just reading the markets, and I saw that crude was down to $72 this morning.
It would have dumped really quickly from when I last looked at it, but I've been busy on a couple of calls. So,
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that at all. But with the ceasefire goes on, if it does, if it's true, does that make things look brighter for our next election, or is it too early to?
Well, I think it is too early to say. In a sense, if this thing holds and this thing gets resolved in a way that the American people can feel is an actual resolution and not just back to old status, then it should accrue positively in November. But there are a lot of other things conspiring against Democrats, all due to their own stupidity, that might help the sometimes stupider Republicans still pull this off. By the time November comes around. Keep in mind, too, one factor we're not talking about a lot right now because it kind of got off the table during this Iran conflict is that Jerome Powell is still Fed chairman and just announced, I think it was last week, we're holding off on rate cuts, which is stupid. First of all, get rid of the Fed. I'd rather have the markets determine rates and or have Congress have to do that and the Treasury work our monetary system instead of these people in the fifth column over in the $2.5 billion, 20,000, maybe 30,000, 100,000 square foot office building, which is insane. That is a factor as well. moving forward because it does affect the economy. But the economy actually is fundamentally sound. I mean, listen, the floor, or stasis on oil prices is in the $55 to $70 range,
Right.
because this spike is entirely due to the war and the uncertainties of the oil supply. And but that's the basis for where we could be with gas prices again. That could quickly change if this thing is over with. And we've got other economic factors that are very positive. We just had massive employment numbers, and unemployment went down from historically low numbers. We're sitting in a 4.3, 4.5% unemployment rate, and a lot of people don't understand that's always been the technical definition of full employment in the United States.
Right.
4% or lower. You always have people that are transitioning and moving and industries that change. So there's always someone unemployed in this country. Those are very low numbers. And then if the oil prices get back to where they were, then all the other inflationary things in the economy are on a relatively low track because we are having economic growth. And we would be back on the track to doing 3 to 5 potentially to doing 3 to 5% GDP growth, which would be phenomenal compared to where we've been in this country in recent years. So there are a lot of good factors. They're not compelling in the sense that we're already all the way on track again as a country, but we're much better than we were in the past. Wages are way up. That's another economic factor. Like compared to where wages were in the Biden administration, the average wages are well up from where they were then. And that allows the economic pinch not to be quite as hard as it might otherwise be in these spikes in costs. So, there's a lot that could be working positively for Republicans going into November, again, in spite of themselves. But
that's a fact.
Yeah.
Where does the SAVE Act stand right now? I know it hasn't gone away, but is it getting any traction, or is it getting kind of ignored?
It's being kind of ignored. First of all, you're not hearing it discussed for obvious reasons. They took their 2-week vacation, and we're in the middle of a conflict with Iran. So we haven't been talking about it, but that is from word I hear, and as I kind of keep my foot to the ground in what's happening on Capitol Hill, it's still working. Apparently, the track that we were on with it can be re-engaged when Congress comes back after the end of this week. So, but it needs to pass, and quickly. Mike Lee seems confident that could happen, and I hope it does, because as I've mentioned to you in the past, and I've said quite a bit, we can deal with a lot of political problems in this country. We cannot deal with our election system the way it currently is structured. And if SAVE Act were passed, that would bring us back to what we've been doing, or at least very close to what we've been doing for 230 years prior. Did you happen to see that up in, I think it was in Michigan, there was a ruling by a judge? I read about it, and I didn't get a chance yet to dig too deeply into it, saying that that Dominion voting machines are a problem. That sort of thing is playing out. I don't know how significant it is yet, and I'm still looking into it, but I just saw it quickly. If that's true, and that did happen, there's a lot conspiring against continuing the election system as it currently exists. I think the Americans are fed up with it and want to change. So we'll see what happens, but that is the number one issue in this country, in my mind, far beyond anything else we're talking about at present. And of course, we're overwhelmed by current events, but that's going to be back on the table.
Yeah,
if this Iran thing is done, it's back on the table. That's the number one issue, in my mind, at least for conservatives moving forward.
When do we say the Iran thing's done? It's 2 weeks pause causes a little bit of like ease of things, but it's very fragile, I would assume.
Well, that's the risk of this thing as it is, and why I'm never excited about doing things like this. I do get where Donald Trump's coming from, by the way. And he is resetting everything in the world, all political structures that mostly Democrats and feckless Republicans have been